My research is all about some of the biggest global challenges that we're facing. So things like how we deal with the threat of climate change, how we deal with the risk of natural hazards, how we can make sure that the transition to renewable energy is sustainable, how we can make sure we've got enough water and we get that to people. In order to be able to tackle some of these challenging problems, we also need to develop new and innovative methods for doing that. And so my research is also focused on developing these new methods, some of them in relation to modeling and simulating these systems, and as a big focus on the use of machine learning and artificial intelligence, but also how we provide better decision support, and particularly in an uncertain environment. And so optimization plays a big part of that. So there's lots of different elements there, but how do they all fit together? So my research usually starts with things people care about. So things people are interested in, things that we want to preserve into the future, or things that we're worried about. So these could be things like, is there enough water? How do we transition to renewables in a sustainable way? How do we deal with natural hazards and climate risk? How do we manage stormwater systems and things like that? But we're not only worried about these things at the present, the biggest risks are in the future. So it's really about understanding how these things we value change into the future in response to climate change or population growth or changing technology, but also socioeconomic development. But as an environmental engineer, I'm not only concerned about how some of these things might change into the future, but really what we can do about that. What are our options for adapting and how effective might they be? What can we do to manage or design better solutions? So ultimately we're interested in how these things we care about, how these things we value, how they perform into the future under different drivers of change, but also under different management adaptation options. And this performance can be measured in many different ways, and we're interested in things like, how much does it cost, but also what are the greenhouse gas emissions, how reliable are the systems going to be into the future, how resilient are they, what's the social impact, what's the environmental impact. So there are lots of different aspects that we need to consider when we're looking at understanding and managing these systems into the future. This requires modeling approaches that enable us to explore what the impact of these different futures and these different adaptation strategies are on the performance of our system. And these modeling approaches can come in different forms. As I said before, we focus a lot on machine learning and artificial intelligence methods, but we also use a broad spectrum of other environmental models. The other thing that's really important is to look at uncertainty, because when you think about the future, that's highly uncertain. The actual systems we're dealing with and the models we're developing are also uncertain, and so is the performance of these systems that we're modeling. So it's really important to have innovative approaches that enable us to understand or deal with this uncertainty and understand what the trade-offs are between different objectives. And so once we know what the performance of the system is under different future conditions and under different adaptation strategies, we can then try to figure out what are the best adaptation strategies, what are the best management strategies into the future that give us the best trade-offs between these performance metrics we care about. And that's where decision support comes in. And that's where optimization can be used, or multi-criteria decision analysis, to really help us explore that space of adaptation options to come up with the ones that work best.